YouTube channel. That's the parent. We'll be streaming it onto our Parent Professional Connect on YouTube. So if this space gets full, we can inform the others also that they can join via our YouTube channel. But for now, please tell a friend to tell a friend that it is time. April is known as the World Autism Awareness Month. And as such, it's the Blue Month. It's the month in which we get to celebrate everyone who is on the spectrum. And for today, I am so happy that our fathers have decided to take over. Usually it is our mothers who come on anytime it is April or it's the celebration of the ASD Awareness Month. But for today and for this time, they are willing to help us understand their perspective. So I would say a big thank you to you all, our fathers. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time for us. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you very much. So I will just dive into, because today is going to be lengthy, four. So I'll dive into reading their profiles in no specific order, actually. I will just go and help us get to know who they are, aside their respective professions as being parents. The other important part too is that they have their profession that makes them who they are, and then their fatherhood also comes in. So I'm gonna read out their profiles so you get to know who we have on the call today. So I would be starting with the profile of Mr. Alan Stanley Marty. Sorry, I made a mistake. Mr. Alan Stanley Marble. Alan Stanley Marble is a computer engineer by training and has specialized in cybersecurity, data centers, and managed IT services, starting out in the IT support over about 30 years ago. Alan has built a track record with stints in the private sector, in the development sector, as well as in the public service in Ghana. Over the course of time, he has worked in North America, UK, that's in Europe, as well as extensively across English-speaking West African countries. He currently runs the Delicts Ghana Limited that provides managed IT services to clients as well as turnkey IT project management and consulting services. His clients run the gamut from government through to banking to donor development agencies and the others. He has also led deployment of data centers for NITA, that is Ghana's National Data Center, and nodes in Accra and Kumasi, and the Ghana Immigration Service also. He's also played a significant role in the empowerment of data center infrastructure for Controller and Accountant General's departments. Alan has also had extensive experience in managing and overseeing many large IT projects, engaging effectively with stakeholders, that's from governments and development partners, as well as equipment vendors and subcontractors through to private sector and international clients. Alan holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from Rutgers University and a postgraduate diploma in information security from the Royal Holloway University of London. So that is Mr. Alan Stanley Marble. Thank you for being here, Mr. Marble. Why do I keep calling you that? Pardon me. Okay. All right. So from Mr. Stanley Marble's profile, I am going to jump in to the profile of Mr. Bernard Ej Opong. Mr. Bernard Ej Opong is also an IT person. So today we get to have two people in the tech space. And then we'd have the others also who would help us understand other things. So he's also a very proficient IT systems engineer. He is excited about mobile, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and very enthusiastic about the invaluable potentials, benefits of mobile technologies. He seeks to develop himself in business management leadership. So he's able to so he's able to pioneer these benefits to others. He has diverse competences in mobile application, in data remote health care, back-end development, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data science, mass communication, smart card resolutions, Internet of Things, then the POS devices. Aside that, his education has spanned from his bachelor's that was in computer science, and then he went on further to do his master's in engineering in embedded distribution IT systems. He also has another master's in artificial intelligence and data sciences. In fact, their profiles, it's extensive, but I'm just going to hold it on here so that we can have time to talk about other details and all that. So that is also a brief about Mr. Bernard Ej Opong. Mr. Opong, you are welcome. Then I move on to our next panelist. That is Mr. Atto Brown. Currently, he is the chairman for Albert Haven Autism Foundation. Mr. Atto Brown started his professional career as an engineer with the then Ghana Water and Sewage Corporation and moved to a distinguished career with the World Bank Group, where he spent over 28 years span and rose through the ranks of a sector manager for water development in the Middle East and North African region. He also served as the country manager for Sierra Leone in Africa, in the African region, and retired in December 2019 as the country manager for Kazakhstan in the Central Asia region. He currently lives on his farm in the eastern region, working on horticulture. That's in vegetable, herbs, and spices. Aside that, he also has fruits, or they grow fruits such as mango, coconut, and passion fruits as a means of a value-added chain. The farm hosts Albert Haven Autism Foundation and Albert Haven Respite Center, a place where comfort for persons with special needs is given. The center was actually established in 2021 in honor of his son Albert, who is a 30-year-old gentleman on the autism spectrum. He also serves on several boards, including the Cosmos Innovation Center, Development Bank Ghana, and Presidential Advisor Group on Economy. So that is our third panelist. Now we'll go on to our fourth panelist. That is no other person than Kenel John Danso Ankra. Kenel doesn't like long talk. He just wants straight to the point. So he just simply likes to be known as a parent advocate. However, he is an experienced kennel and he has a whole lot of experience and has demonstrated lots of history in working in the military and the security industry. He's skilled in diverse forms, of which you can get to know more later. Of some, we are not allowed to, so we'll just hold it on here. So once again, please, you are all welcome.
Thank you.
Nice. So since we have started, we are going to set the ball rolling. I'm going to start. Can I start in any order? Or do I need to start from a specific individual? I think I can start anywhere, right? So I'm going to start with Mr. Stanley Marble. Please, can you take us back to when you first noticed some changes in your child? What did you see?
Hi, hi to all the other daddies panel and to everybody connected to the webinar. You're taking us quite far back, but when we first noticed, so okay, let me give a brief background to start. I have
Yeah.
two boys on the autism spectrum. And we found out when we started to investigate why the older one was having a challenge uh, starting to talk. So when the older one was 3 years old, um, we were prompted. Of course, my wife had been doing her research and trying to figure out what the issue was, but we were prompted by the preschool and by my mother, the grandmother, that we should go to hospital and begin investigating. First of all, whether there was a problem with hearing. So we went to Yahoo, had a hearing test done, and followed through to Kolebu, where the audiology department did full hearing tests on the two boys. After that, I think from the uh, audiology center, they sent us to um, the speech and language unit, where they recommended we see Dr. Marbell and consider some facilities which would be able to help with speech therapy. So since Dr. Marble is my cousin and was on the list, I think we drove from the hospital probably first to, I think we called her and then went to see her later the same day and began to have the conversation about um, the possibility that what was causing our delayed speech could be an autism spectrum diagnosis. So we got a questionnaire to fill out, filled out the questionnaire, and then went back to Dr. Marvel's house, I think the following evening or a few days later. And again, all this was done at home in a home setting. So we went to her house after work and gave her our filled questionnaires on the two boys. And she went through, and at that point, we were pretty clear that one, our challenge was not that our boys could not hear or that Victor, the older one, could not hear, but that he was having a challenge, first of all, with speech, which was the thing that brought us to the investigation. And secondly, with developing his social skills. So essentially, I think that was the diagnosis. At the time that we got the diagnosis, Dr. Marvel also flagged that the younger one, who at the time was 2 years old or had just turned 2, was showing a lot of the same signs that the older one has shown and progressed through. So we might as well start whatever interventions we're going to do on the two boys. So that is where it started from. And we immediately pulled them out from daycare, preschool, what they were doing before, and started a home program
For them.
working with the boys. So that's essentially how our story started or how our journey started.
I would come back later to get your reactions and how you felt and all that because we are interested in getting to understand that part. So I'm going to move on then to Kennel. Kennel Danzo,
Yes, hi there.
can you share with us how was it like? What made you realize that I think there's a challenge somewhere? I think there's something wrong somewhere.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. I'm not sure I thought there was something wrong. I was rather told that there was something wrong
Oh, okay.
because I think I was in the US on a course when my boy was one, and then when he was about 1.5, I mean, he was always crying, and I thought crying was normal. Everybody would say that, oh, there's some children cry excessively, so that's fine. But he was always crying. And then anytime I had to go to class, I left him at the CDC, the Childhood Development Center. And then when we pick him up, they would tell us that he doesn't play with the other kids. He wouldn't eat with them. And of course, he was non-verbal too. So, but we didn't think there was anything wrong. We thought that maybe it was just a delay. He would pick up later on. Then there was a certain program, and I think a therapist, I don't know who she was, came to our home. And after an interaction, she asked us that we should read about autism. I had never heard the word before. My wife had, but we just decided not to read about it. Then when we came back to Ghana, he was still not meeting the developmental milestones. He was not speaking, and we saw Dr. Dixon, a psychologist, and she mentioned autism for the first time again. I mean, this is the second time, but this is the first time I'm hearing it to sink in well that we need to read something about autism, but he may be something like that. So we started paying attention to him, and we realized that he was a bit different. The crying hadn't stopped, the speech wasn't coming. We had introduced him to a nursery school, and every day he was crying. He wouldn't play with anybody and all that. So we were referred to go and see Dr. Mabel, just like Alan. We did a comprehensive 3-hour session with her. The first, I'm a senior specialist, and it was very informative. And I think at that time he was about 3 years, or a little above 3 years when he was diagnosed that he is on the spectrum. So we now have to start thinking about the intervention methods. So that's how it all started with me.
That's nice. So you were told.
Yes.
Okay. So let's find out from Mr. Brown. Please, were you also told or you noticed something? How was it like for you?
Yes. I pretty much the crying. Albert was born in the U.S. and in 2 months he flew a plane to Switzerland to where I was in transition between jobs. I left the World Bank and went to work in Switzerland for 2 years. He cried that night. It was merciless, real crying, crying to the point where you wonder what's going on, I mean, and then we also observed when we went to the playgrounds, instead of going and sliding down, he would try to climb the other way, so we thought it was a genius, he'd figured out the sliding better than everybody else. So he went the opposite direction, you know. So those were there, but then there is and we thought he could, because I think it was just maybe false belief. We were watching tennis or football and goal. We thought we heard him say goal, or we sing, oh, McDonald's had a house, yeah, yeah, yo, we thought we had something, but so but he wasn't saying daddy or mommy, or anything of that sort. There were two other siblings, so we thought, not sure what it was. He crawled early, he walked early, the other development milestones came. It was only the speech. And because we had moved from an Anglophone zone to a German zone, we thought, oh, maybe the other siblings were speaking German, so he's confused with the language, which language to pick. So we did the first test in hearing in the Switzerland. They said it's okay, and we moved after 2 years to Nairobi. So it was in Nairobi. First day they arrived, within 1 hour, Albert was in emergency room.
Oh.
He crashed through a glass table. And had to have stitches on the head. So but just was bubbly, it was bubbly, moving around, and just climbed onto the glass table, and before you know it, it crashed through it. And so we then the hearing thing, we went again. First, the doctor, pediatrician said, oh, maybe he doesn't hear very well. Then we went after 3 months, he said he can hear very well. So we started reading a bit about it. So if my wife got on the plane and went to John Hopkins, where they did the Kennedy Krieger Institute, is one of the top institutes for autism care spectrum, and was fully evaluated. And I remember the day of reckoning, I wasn't there. So Ifo called me crying. And what is it? One of the therapists mentioned that, do you guys have an estate? And in America, when it says that you have a will, or because you might need a long-term care for this child. So that's when it sank in properly. So he was around 2.5, thereabout, when. So I always tell people that we were lucky to get a bit of diagnosis early, and so we started preparing, and we also prepared for a long-term care for our son.
So let me ask this. How did you feel? How was it like getting to have the call from your wife and you weren't there? How was it like for you?
It's my work involved a lot of traveling, so it took me a while for it to sink in, because I come home and within 2 weeks I'm somewhere else. So but of course I had to check in with my wife almost every day and see what's progress. Is he, I remember then so we moved to Nairobi for 2 years, and then I requested for development assignment back to Washington, so that we can get better care because at that time, there was no care. Kenya did not have much. Checked in Ghana, there wasn't much. That was 1999, thereabout. There wasn't much around 1998 to 99. So we moved back to the US. And, so I wasn't around a lot. So I didn't face, but I was checking in. I remember even in Nairobi, the first time he chewed crackers or biscuits, it was the first time he needed to, every food had to be pureed. He wouldn't eat anything, So my mom came for 1 year, my mother-in-law came for 1 year. My mom used to grab him and virtually force feed him. So we knew, and I'd come to terms with it, and then we've gotten the best advice we could get from Kennedy Krieger. So it was just acceptance and prepare for the long haul.
Okay. So now that we've had your part, let's get to listen to Mr. Opong. Mr. Bernard Opong, please, can you share your experience with us? What did you first see? What did you notice? How was it like for you?
Yeah. For me, I think initially there really wasn't anything clear that would say, okay, there's an issue here you need to take care of. The only thing that kind of raised an alarm for us was when we went to church in the early stages, like a few months, 1 year. The sound in the church, he would always cry, or he would always prefer to be outside of the church than to be inside. And you know how typical charismatic church can be in
Yeah.
Ghana and so on. But aside that, everything else was fine. He was walking, he was started talking, had a few words, he was playing with everybody, and so nothing else was very alarming. The main situation started around COVID time. And around that time, we had relocated from one place to another place because of some maybe other family issues here and there and so on. So during that COVID period, that's when things began to shift around a little bit. He began to be extremely sensitive. And at this point, let's say he's about maybe 3 years, almost 3.5 years old, he could still speak a little bit. So he could communicate and so on. So he would tell you, for instance, you'd be walking by the roadside, he would tell you there's the fire ambulance coming, or maybe the fire truck, it's coming. And this would be in a distance where I couldn't hear, but he would tell you the ambulance is coming, and you will hear the ambulance a minute after. So he started, his hearing was a bit too like scary. His sight was, everything was, sensitivity around him was becoming a bit too weird in that sense. So that's when I kind of started thinking, okay, there's something wrong. But at that point, I really did not think autism. So then in the COVID moments, being alone with him, all that, he started getting extremely active, like extreme hyperactivity. And so at that point, I just knew there was something wrong. But every time you raise it, and he was my first child, so everybody would tell you, oh, he's your first child, it's fine, he'll be okay. So you know there is something wrong, but everybody is reassuring you. So you kind of take the easy part, take the reassurance, and just feel everything is okay. But it was getting extremely worse over time. He stopped talking, and then he really stopped wanting to go out, wanting to step out, and so on and so forth. So at that point, I just knew there was something wrong. I called a friend of mine who was a clinical psychologist, Dr. Fleisch, typical German woman. She came over, did an initial assessment, and said, okay, she thinks it's trauma. She thinks he is traumatized, and she also thinks he had switched from geographical location, language location, kind of similar to the what was said. So he has switched from a German English speaking country to a German speaking country, and so they thought, okay, it's the language switch. There was a bit of family incidents also, so they also felt it was trauma. So we started doing traumatic therapy, whatever it was. But at that point, for something, I just knew that was not the solution. Like whatever they were doing, I knew that really wasn't the solution. So I kind of proposed, in my case, I kind of proposed to the trauma therapists that, what do you think about autism? Because at that point, I mean, I had read about everything that was associated with what I was seeing. And she said, okay, if you suspect it, let's go see. So then I was redirected to another doctor, and that's when they started doing the analysis, and that's when the theory of autism also started coming up. At that moment, that's when he was also beginning to show the autistic signs, where he stopped talking completely. So someone who had been talking now to about almost 3 years, he just stopped talking. If you ask him anything, he will either nod or just ignore you. He stopped eating the regular food he needs to eat. He stopped um, wearing diapers. He would rather take the diaper off and just do the do on the bed and come and call you that I've done it. And so there was a whole mess around the COVID time, and there was a lot of issues coming up. But that's when we kind of got into it. Dr. Fleisch also referred me to another colleague, and we had three doctors. I remember he's sitting in the middle of three doctors, and one coming with the theory of change of environment, the other coming with the theory of trauma, the other coming with the theory of autism. They did a lot of diagnosis. But in all of this, for me, all I needed, I didn't really need a label. I just needed a solution for the boy. And so, but I think the most one that convinced me and the other doctors was the autistic diagnosis. And so at age 3.5, he was diagnosed as autistic. And since then, we've been doing different things in and out and so on. So long story short, this is what happened.
So
Yeah.
in your case, you spearheaded everything. And after spearheading and at least getting to understand from these different aspects, when you finally got something you could work with, something you felt was it, what did you do? How did you feel? How did it all sink in? Although you've tried to go through different things, how was it like for you?
I mean, it was the whole point was knowing your child is not going to be normal in quote, right? So at this same point, whilst your child is kind of retrogressing, you have friends that you meet up with their children. At that age, I remember one of my friends was already kind of typing on a computer, and my son wouldn't even. So it was like a whole lot of stress, a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of anger, a whole lot of anguish and anxiety because all you are
Mhm.
thinking about is this is my son, this is my first child. How is he going to survive? How is he going to maneuver through life? You are living in a place which is white racism all over and all around you, and you are being black, being autistic. And so it was a lot of several emotions going through, but I think the most predominant one I can remember really was anger and anxiety. Those
Mhm.
really took me for a while before I could kind of get around them, I would say. Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah.
You've done well. Are you cool?
That's
Mr. Marvel, did you also have anger? Were you
Um,
frustrated? How was it like for you? Because for you, it wasn't just one.
You see, yeah, I have two boys. I think the when we first got diagnosed, Dr. Marvel asked us, myself and my wife, an interesting question. She asked, "What do you want for these boys when they grow up?" And project and think of how you would wish their lives to be in the face of this challenge that we have. And I think it was an interesting exercise because it forced me to think about not what we are possibly going to miss out on, but what is still possible. And from that point, I think that's what I've spent a lot of time and energy focusing on what is still possible in spite of the challenge. If we're having so much challenge, even learning to speak, what is still possible? Um, um, there's anxiety, and there's anxiety because no matter what the challenges were, when this started, maybe 12 or so years ago, when this journey started, we started out on this journey about 12 years ago. The challenges that we were grappling with were around getting the boys to communicate and getting over the issues that they had at the time. I remember Mr. Brown talking about Albert and his not tolerating any uh, solid food or food with texture.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going through that same issue. Even today, my oldest, who's 15 and he's in Form 2,
Mm-hmm.
still doesn't want to talk or communicate verbally as his primary option. So the challenge is, even as we are able to overcome one, we look at what the next challenge is. And when we overcome the next, we look at what follows. And in the face of all these challenges, I think what drives us or what grounds us is looking forward that in spite of all these challenges,
Mm-hmm.
what do we see for these boys and what do we think is possible? And is the hope that there's still so much that they can achieve and so much that they can do, I think
Mm-hmm.
is what keeps me motivated, should I say. because yeah, it's challenging, and sometimes we think what is in front of us is a huge obstacle, but we overcome it. And as soon as we overcome it, there's something else to focus on. There's something else that we need to address, because the hardest one is the one that is immediate. As soon as we hit the immediate target, you see that there's other things that we also want for these children. And it's, I think, even for children, for parents who do not have children with special needs, these are an overarching concern. Every child, every parent must go through this in a certain form. It's just that for parents like us, it is amplified, and we cannot trust chance or hope that by luck we will make it. We have to be deliberate in what we do. So it's a life situation that we find ourselves in, which has forced a certain way of doing things on us, but we are managing, and I think God has been good to us. I saw Bernard and Adam a few months ago at the clinic. This time we were coming to see the psychologist and not the doctor herself, but it's heartwarming to see how the children are growing and developing, especially if you know where we came from. It's heartwarming to see where we are today. I think if you were not seeing my children every day the way I am, when you did see them, there would be you would be impressed at their progress. It is as we are sitting next to them every day that we are challenged to look and see how much progress we are making. Because we need to motivate ourselves daily to keep at this. But Ida, have I answered your question? I feel like I've
You can
completely
share.
from where we
Today
started.
it's for us to learn from you,
Yeah.
because
So
we need to learn from you.
the question was, how did it feel? It's an
Yeah,
ongoing thing. We are still feeling it.
that's true. That's true.
So that's it. It's an ongoing thing. But I think we are rewarded every day. Is the feeling I have, that aside from the first musunsha, I don't know how you say this in English.
Yeah,
For anybody who doesn't understand what musunsha is from that first like agony of recognizing that you have a challenge. After that, everything else is a matter of seeing one foot in front of the other and making progress. So
Okay.
that agony, it hit, but somehow we got over it and had a bigger challenge to look at.
And as you said, it doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
New things keep coming up. And you are doing well.
Thank you
So
very much.
please, for our audience, you can
Yes.
ask your questions. You can type in the chat so that we get to ask our fathers, so they share more with us. You might not know, something they would have been working or worked on would be something that you are currently working on. So they can share the experiences, so it helps you get to pick and learn from them. Now, I'm going to ask Kennel. Kennel, I just asked you the first part. Mr. Mabala shared how he's been feeling. Mr. Opon has also shared how he also has been feeling. What about you? Can you share with us how you've been feeling? And looking at the change where you also had to move the up and down work and all that. How has it been for you emotionally, work-wise, in terms of everything? How is it for you?
Well, the feeling is daily. Every day changes, every day with its own package.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the initial shock wasn't really so much of a shock as I mentioned earlier. But trying to know exactly what this is all about. And it set me reading a lot. It set me reading a lot. I think I was the most read person on the subject in a particular year or two. I read every book, every manual, every thesis, monologue, whatever I could lay my hands on. As far as it's talking about autism, I read it. And in the initial stages, you get a lot of help in quotes, where a lot of suggestions as to what you should be doing. Have you thought about this diet? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? There's always something new. And that was one of the most challenging things, how to select from the varied options that are presented to you, because you want to see progress.
Mm-hmm.
You are not so much into the labeling. Well, this is the label, and this is exactly what you are seeing. But how do you make progress with a child? You want to see your child speaking. Then later they said it's not about speaking, it's about communicating. So you want to see your child communicating. So how should he communicate? You want to see him functioning effectively like other children. How should that be? You want to see him socializing. What should you do? So I read a lot. I read a lot. I read a lot. I read a lot. And sometimes too much reading also confuses you because
Exactly.
you need to narrow,
Exactly.
you need to narrow down and focus. But there's been a lot of changes and a lot of improvements over the years. I remember just after he was diagnosed, the next year he was diagnosed of something else, which was strange, but it helps us to understand him more. So one of the therapists diagnosed him of aprasia of speech. We hadn't heard about that before, so we had to read what is aprasia of speech. So even the words are not coming, and now when the words are coming, they are turned upside down. So, for example, he cannot say dog; he will say God. He will say elephant today; tomorrow he says elephant, and you have to deal with all these challenges. And so those are the tough parts that you have to deal with. But you see a lot of growth in various areas, and then sometimes you see a reversal in certain areas. And like Alan mentioned, sometimes it's good to have people who haven't seen you for a very long time or a child for a long time. And then when they see him, they can validate or as it were, give you some assurance that, oh, there's been some change. I remember some years back, we used to go to Allen for that kind of validation. Because we've been to several places. We've been to different schools, different therapy centers, and so on. So sometimes when we are away for some time, then during a vacation, we'll go to Allen's place. And then they'll tell that, oh, your boy has improved, though. Now you can do A, B, C, D. Then when you go home, you just know to yourself and say, there's hope. Oh,
Yeah.
we are so,
It assures you.
yeah, it can be frustrating, but it's also interesting because it helps you to rediscover yourself and what you can do and what you have been doing. The most important thing for me is that you have to be present in the child's life if you want to see the progress that you are visualizing. You must be there and you must contribute effectively to make it happen.
Exactly. So to you all, be present in your child's life. So you see, although they all have very busy schedules and all that, they all make time to be with their children. They do this because they need to have that bond with them. So no matter what, please, let's make the time. Let's buy out some time for our children. Now, I'm going to go back to our fathers. Let me start with Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, I know Albert is like the last baby, right?
No, he's a last but one.
Ah,
and
okay.
and that's also the thing. So I don't know whether we wanted to prove that we could do. I don't know what you could do. You could, but it wasn't planned. But
Okay.
we have
So,
a 26-year-old. Um,
ah,
yeah, that's the last baby. Yeah,
okay. So,
she's.
so,
But you can imagine the anxiety
uh-huh.
going through the birth of the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be the same like Albert? Is he going to be, whatever? It was tough. It was tough.
Okay.
But we've gone through that. And maybe along the way, I will talk about the influence on the siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the last one had to go to therapy at some point in her life, because we sometimes we pay not too much attention. There's a clear and present problem, so not problem, but burden in the home. So Albert, all the attention went to Albert. So the last one felt a bit neglected,
Mm-hmm.
and by 11th grade or grade, she had problems in school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you also need to watch out with. When you have a multiple kids setting,
Yeah,
you need to pay. So being present in the child with special needs, you should try and be proportional in terms of how you spread the care with the other children. um,
exactly.
yes.
Okay. So in having in a family, definitely
Right.
everyone needs to have the me time.
Right.
So that's the reason why it's important that we share the time or we allocate the time to whoever
Right.
at whichever point in time very well. Thank you
Right.
for adding that, Mr. Brown. I'm gonna
Right.
read the questions that we have in the chat box and then the
Right.
comments that we
Okay.
have in there.
I
Um,
actually missed the question. That you asked me, but if you repeat it again,
no,
I
no, don't
can.
worry.
I
I
can.
would say it. Today, dear, it's your day. So please, you are all sharing
Yeah.
for us to get to learn from you. I was just going to find out that in raising a child who is on the spectrum and
Mm-hmm.
looking at fatherhood in general, since you've had
Right.
others also and all that,
Mm-hmm.
help us understand how has it been like, especially with just as the comments that have come as to
Mm-hmm.
you need to be strong with all the ideas that you people get to pump into you. You need to do this. Oh, it's your first child, is this, is that. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. How has it been like for you
I
balancing
think
the two?
I was very busy, or maybe it was maybe deliberate, getting busy to not to see the problem. Or yeah, I don't know. I can't. But my job involved traveling around the world. So when I was
Mhm,
in the U.S., I'm traveling. Or every 2 weeks, I'm off. So I was very conscious
mhm,
that my wife was going to bear the brunt of
mhm,
the primary care, and so we had to rearrange our lives.
mhm,
It meant that uh, I will go to work and make as much money as I can so that
mhm,
we can take care of the family. So we had to rearrange. That's the first thing we had to arrange. And over
mhm,
time, we had to rearrange the family time for different kids. If I have to move abroad for posting, I make sure one child is in boarding school or something. Then we can move, because I always try to move with my property. So I need to move with the kids. But we
mhm,
we try to make every move about one child or the other, and Albert normally used to take the time. And when Albert turned 13, we needed to move back from Tanzania to the US because we weren't getting the care that we needed in Tanzania. So we
mhm,
had to plan the movement of the kids, movement around, pretty tilted around Albert's needs, but also making sure that we don't miss out on the other kids, the needs of the other kids. But one thing for sure, that once we went to Kennedy Krieger, which was one top institute for diagnosis and so on, it settled the matter in my mind that
mhm,
I didn't of course, when you hear about some article, you see something, you jump at it and try to investigate. We did some sound. They said no, put some, speaker on the child. Some frequencies will help, and so we try everything. We even tried the grandmothers. Oh, can you take him to this or software? That one we didn't do. Take this software is very good, and this, we didn't do that. I think one thing that helped me was that, my belief in science, my belief in uh, human biology, whatever, that we need to stay focused on the science. We need to stay focused on. We are prayerful and we believe in God and everything, but we should not be swayed by being erratic in the care because we are not specialists. We can try as much as possible to learn all the things we want, but leave it to the specialist. I mean, I think that for me was something that I decided earlier on, that I was going to trust the specialists, the caregivers, and so on to do their job. And I wasn't going to interfere with that. And of course, the mother was there with an eagle eye to keep an eye on everything on a daily basis. And but it was tough. The child leaves home. um the bus picks the child up, goes to the blended schools. They try to introduce the kids in the school system. By 8:30, he leaves home at 8 o'clock. By 8:30, they call you back to school. And you go, four policemen have surrounded Albert. Albert is a strong, big kid, because some child tried to socialize, and Albert gently lifted the child off and threw the child away. So you cannot predict what will happen, in the school period. So you are virtually anxious about, but the support systems were there. But the frustration we had was that we couldn't see we couldn't see monumental improvement. And so we had to settle out the patience. You need to be patient. Changes happen slowly. Every 6 months, human anatomy and changes. We need to respect that the child will, every 6 months the child is going to change. And we needed to, but it took a long time for us. I think that we focused on the disability so much, we didn't even focus on ability. That one thing that I will advise new parents and that find time for the ability also. Focusing on ability, disability always doesn't help. If it kind of and then leave the specialists to do their job. And the stigma and so on, that I didn't worry about. I would take my son to every restaurant I want to do. I'm paying. I go. I respectfully ask for a corner seat or something. I tell them, look, we have a special needs kids here. If you won't take us, we'll take our money away. So that didn't worry me. At all. But of course, I mean, the hyperactivity will be there. You can't go to church and have a normal. But our churches, our family also worked with us. So I believe that we had, uh, you know, Albert is 30 now. We can, we've gone through a lot, but we are happy. He still doesn't speak. He can communicate. He can respond to go to your room. Do you want to go shower? He will look. I mean, we've learned to communicate better. We can look at eye movement and so on. We know exactly what he wants. He wouldn't take. He might drag you to the fridge, but he won't open the fridge. When you open it, he always want endorsement for everything. So we grew with him, and now we can help. We can understand him better, and we can relate to him better, and even people around us also are able to relate to him better.
Exactly. So just as Mr. Brown is saying, autism has no cure. Science hasn't told us that autism has a cure. But the therapies, they were consistent with it. And even till date, they follow through every single aspect of Albert's care. So I am going to move on to Mr. Pong. For you, how has it been like in your day-to-day activities? I know Kenal mentioned in terms of the comparison where he also gets to reassure himself that, oh, okay, so someone has also seen it. So it means my child is making progress here and there. How has it been like in terms of your day-to-day activities, in terms of fatherhood, in terms of caring for your child's needs, the therapies and all that? Can you share with us, please?
Yeah. I mean, once you come into this world with where your child is, you begin to see there's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of concepts and all of that stuff. Eventually, I got to find out that it's actually businesses people are running, and they are running these businesses based on different concepts. You know, the ideology of um, I've even interacted with someone, and I had to fly all the way to London to meet with someone that was talking about how the positioning of the earth and how the child needs to be something, all sort of theories. So you that is where what you begin with. Too many solutions, too many things out there. It gets very confusing. That you need to get to the point where you kind of need to figure out what works or what is applicable to your child. I found myself initially when I was beginning to find solutions, I was also moving by the theory of what I want. So you know how you think your son is lacking, and so
Yeah.
you are moving to a solution based on what you want. You want your son to be able to um, um, write, develop software. You want your son to be able to play the piano. So everything you are doing is based on what you want, right?
Mhm.
And because of that, I realized I was pushing my son towards what he's not interested in or what he cannot do, and so on. It took me a while, but I switched the solution around to now begin to look at what does he need or what does he want. So the initial focus was always driven by my aim. Then I got
Mhm.
to the point where I realized, no, it's really not about me, even though sometimes, and I think parents make that mistake a lot, the things we seek to do for the children is driven by what we want or what we think others want to see in our children. And you need to really catch that fast and then move on from there towards what the child needs. And getting to what the child needs really needs to be also not a very broad spectrum thing. It's always very specific to the individual child. Something that worked for another child might not necessarily work for you, right? So to move towards knowing what works for your child, again, you come back to the basics. I think Mr. Brown talked about the science of things. And with the background, you begin to just apply what you know. How do you
Mhm.
know your children? You know them by collecting data on them, at least for me. That's what I started doing. So I started observing my child. I always treated four problematic areas at a time. So at some point, I'm looking at running around, inability to speak, not being able to sleep. And these are the problematic areas I'll write down. Then throughout the day, I begin to monitor, okay, what did he do today? What did he eat today? Where did he go today? What was the weather like? What was the temperature? Over time, you begin to put things together and see what triggers your child. What makes
Yeah.
your child okay? What doesn't make your child okay? And so on and so forth. There's a lot
Mhm.
of theories going on about food and diet and so on and so forth. I think diet and food is very good. I'll be honest, I think dietary change really helped my son. That was the one thing that kind of made him start speaking again because he was speaking for some time, he stopped. And then when I kind of understood how his body works, how he reacts to things, and we began to figure out which diet works for him. That's what made him started kind of speaking again. But I'll be honest with you, dietary will not cure autism. I mean, and this is a business that people are really running. People are running businesses on using diet to cure autism and so on. Diet is excellent. It helps the children in so many ways, but it is not a cure. And again, even the diet that you give to your child is not supposed to be told to you that, oh, go and give your child this. You must know what your child needs, right? And
Exactly.
based on all of this, I mean, and I'm speaking from my experience. I have
Mhm.
one autistic child, and I kind of dedicated my life to this boy all this while. So the data you collect drives you towards solutions. You
Mhm.
get to a point where you are now the one who begins to propose solutions to the expert. A lot of the
Mhm.
times, I think we take our children to these specialists and we just expect them to do magic, right? But
Yeah.
These specialists spend an hour or two maximum with your child, and then you take the child home, you bring him back, and you expect them to pick up somehow. But it must be driven by you, what your child needs, what you're observing. As soon as you do that, magically, well, maybe it's not magic, but it becomes so obvious what your child needs. Like if you rely on what people are constantly feeding you, you'll be always running all over the place. But the more you begin to know your child, you just know what they need and where you need to move. Number one, for me, I told you, dietary work. Apart from that, the significant other thing that worked was time, like time with the boy. Like it comes with sacrifices. Like I really had to stop working for like 2 years. Really, the aim of that was to spend time with him, speak with him, let him talk back, let him not talk back, but see what makes him angry, what makes him sad. All of that is data that you gather that kind of moves you with a child. Eventually, you begin to see the child come around. That coming around is not cure. That come around is he just maybe the universe just aligning with the effort you are putting in and you noticing your child and pushing him towards the right things. I would say definitely also therapies also help. Right now at the moment I don't let my son go for some therapies because I think he's outgrown them. And again, I think is the work of the parent or the father to know when to move on from certain things. People always say, okay, you need to go, you need to go. But at some point, you know your child better and you know that this is not what he needs now. The doctor can tell you whatever, but you know, you are the best doctor for the child. And at every point, you move the person on to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. So that is like the summary of what I can say. I was so fascinated by the ideology of my child reading that I think either we even came to see you where we were
Yes.
taking him through reading lessons and he was picking it up, right? We are teaching him the phoenix, he can pronounce the phoenix and so on and so forth. But one day he told me point blank, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the way you want me to do it. My son can somehow read now, but if I tell you how he reads, it's not by putting Phoenix together.
No.
He chew words like you would tell him spell start, START. He learns it and
That's
he
it.
memorizes the word start. Not that he knows how to put the stuff together. He's just memorized the word. So he knows the boy, but he knows that because he's memorized that THE is there. So he's putting words together based on what he memorizes. And this
Yeah.
is one thing with these kids, like it's not applicable to everyone, but they are very, what's that called? When your brain is like a sponge, they photographic memory. So he's reading based on photographic memories of words he has seen from different things and so on and so forth. But if you don't know your child, you keep pushing him to do LAT, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So the healing process really comes mostly when you spend the time with the child to know what he needs and what he doesn't need. And then the last part will be to not be driven by like your selfish need, right? Be driven by what the child wants or what the
Yeah.
child needs to be able to thrive. There's so many things to always say, but I'll pause here in summary. Thank you.
And thank you so much for adding all of that because I remember in working with your son, the way this boy can recite the stories, the books that he has probably listened to probably once or twice, that's the end. And he can tell you verbatim every single page, every single thing written in there. You can even randomly pick something for him and he would mention it to you. So you see how miraculous our kids can be. They are able to, whenever you are able to identify where their strengths are, and that's exactly what Mr. Opon is saying, that collect data on the children. I like the other fact that you mentioned that for you, you looked at what he needed. You looked at which points, which meals helps him where, what points does what. So there was a question in there where someone was asking about dietary modifications and things. Please, it looks like Mr. Opon has given you your response. For him, he had to take data. You are the best person to know what is up, what can be done. Collect that data. get to understand it. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can seek professional help. There was a webinar we did last year in terms of nutrition and autism, also handled by a parent whose child is also on the spectrum, and she's a dietitian. It gave lots of information in there. Please go to our Parents Professional Connect on YouTube. Go and watch that video also. And then you get to also learn some more. There are some comments in here from Idrisu. He says he's from the Upper West in Timu. He's listening to all of you. He also has a child with a need. And then well, this person doesn't have a name, but it's a Samsung, and it says that what is the level of awareness of autism in Ghana? And how would you rate the support you are receiving on a scale of 1 to 10? So, fathers, would you want to take that? Would one of you want to take that now? Or can I go ahead and read the next one? The person wants you to do a rating. Joshua also says that, and sorry, Josiah says that I want to find out if you've discovered the strengths of your children. And that was one thing that Mr. Opon just mentioned, that yes, he's looked out for the strength of his child. He's seen some. I would ask the other parents also for you, and then how best you are helping them to improve upon it. So that's one thing that Mr. Opon mentioned, that for him and his son, he's noticed that if this particular thing is not working in this way, he alters it. It's not about him, but it's about his child. What can be done to support the child?
If I can talk about, yes, Albert is, as I say, 30 years old, and he's gone through, uh, lived in Switzerland, lives in the US, went through the school system in the US, actually ended up in special ed. They couldn't integrate, so he was one of the seniors in the special ed, where the people had to go for corrective behavior and come back to the system. But he graduated in the special ed because he couldn't integrate into the regular class. But talking about, I still can find every 6 months interest change. Sometimes he's interested in swimming and he stops swimming. He, because of his motor skills, he cannot even use a laptop or phone. He will bang it, to death. So he can't use, music therapy or whatever. He can't use it. So his life is very simple, chilling. He goes to swing and he walks. He exercises. He finds a way to exercise himself. I think that and he's out of the school system. He's been out of the school system for a while. I think that's one area where that motivates me to set up the Albert Haven for because now after 16, the kids don't fit into the school system.
Yeah.
The when they are young, there's always some place they can go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are too expensive around, and, but there's some, and there are few in the Kwapim Hill, the whole of the Kwapim Hill. There's only one special needs school for everybody. It's Down syndrome, multiple sclerosis, everything. And 28 kids in one room with 4 teachers who struggling to make sense out of the different therapies, So there's not much around. And that's why I agree with my brother Bernard. I think parents who have to step in as the primary caregiver in most cases. But one thing about ability uh, is the story I always tell people about. We got a visitors from what's the name, Spectrum Academy in state of Utah, Salt Lake City. They came to Albert Haven, and we invited other autism foundations and so on to come for some interaction. And the guy told us about his son. He was 24. I think his name is David, and it took. He went through the school system. They will make you feel like you've graduated, but without having any special skills or anything. But what happened when he started cooking with his dad? Suddenly, food geography, everything made sense. Food from Indian restaurant, Filipino food, this, food. And so when he started looking at the map and interacting with it, but just by cooking with his dad, now he cooks in the school with his dad, and offers meals for the teachers in the school. But it took towards the end that he found an interest in cooking. So I think we need to figure out the ability. Find out one ability. It might change. Different things might change every 6 months, as I said. Just like so-called normal kids, they also change. And you always have to ask yourself at this age, if he's 16 or if he's 10, what will the child be doing? Because it's very important. Part of the child is 10 years old, but part of the brain might be 2 years old, still might be 6 years old. But you need to remind yourself that if he's a teenager, you'll be interested in some things. He will see girls, and if he's a guy, he will feel fascinated by girls. You need to be mindful that the child, you need to treat them to be able to get the ability. You need to treat them like like for their age. I mean, they will be bored. They will go into depression if you don't, take them out. If he's 20, he wants to drive them around sometimes. Let them see, visit places, go to the beach. Because what would this child, like Albert is 30 years old. What do you think a 30-year-old man will be doing? And introduce him to the age appropriate things so he can pick some of them, because that's what he's heading towards. As they grow, they need age appropriate therapies and so on, and the fixing the box, putting things in the box and so on. They grow, they don't like to do it anymore. Albert he will do it for you, beats and so on, for improving motor skill. He will do it for you very quickly, but he wouldn't, like my brother said, he will tell you, I don't want to do it anymore. And Albert will push it away and make sure he won't even sit down for you to entertain you. So we need to figure out a bit of work on their ability side. If there's something, how do we drive the ability? How do we stimulate the interest? And how do we deepen the interest? And maybe, it doesn't work for every child, but at least let's get A for effort.
Well done. And thank you for getting the A for effort. I'm clapping for that. I think I need to give you the virtual clap for that one. Cool. So I'm gonna go to Mr. Mabel. You did mention that one of your children does not like, although he can communicate in terms of vocalizing his words to you sometimes, he doesn't really like it sometimes. So how are you able to navigate these things? What do you do? And even as Mr. Brown has shared his son's own as to Albert not vocalizing the things, what are you able to do? What do you do?
Thanks. I want to say thank you to Bernard that in his presentation, he had a comment that I've put down that I am going to use. He said at every point in time, he has 4 problem areas he's looking at and addressing. And I thought that was so useful because we are faced with usually challenges that may number in the hundreds, if not thousands. And it's hard to focus. Picking a list of 4 that at any point in time, these are the 4 I'm looking at. When I finish, we will move to the next. I think it's brilliant. So, Bernard, I've taken your point. We will use it. Your question was about communicating and my oldest, Victor. So, Miss Zara, who is at Mission, was with us recently, just this week, and she has outlined some new initiatives that she would like us to work And so we're working. But the challenge in general is that when he's very motivated, he will use his words. So if it is about some food that he wants to eat, that he is very committed to, he will use his words and he can speak in a way that even you will understand. Again, if he's very motivated in that he doesn't want to, his no can be very, very clear. It is the in-betweens, the things that you may want and he doesn't care, that are challenging. But there's a few things we have working in our favor. And if you are communicating with him and he is not inclined to respond, if you provide your questions in written form or your request in written form, or you give him a pen and paper and tell him he should tell you what he wants, he will write. And he will write generally clearly enough for you to see what he wants. So in our case, we are using writing as the alternate means of communications. We have been working, so Ms. Zara suggested that we can do something around AAC technologies, and Joel, who is originally one of our own people, so let's call him one of my older children, who is now a speech therapist, also is focused on AAC technologies. So between Zara and Joel, I'm hoping that we will come up with systems that will allow other people to communicate well enough with Victor. Victor tends to communicate when he wants to, and that's not a problem. When he doesn't want to, and if it's in the negative, if he wants to push back, again, he's able to very effectively push back with his hard nose. But hopefully, if we have a wider range of tools, then we will be able to have better two-way communication between him and people who may not know him and therefore know how to engage with him. But I'm told that at school, most people who want to engage with him do so with a pen and pad. So they write their questions down and he will answer whatever it is they want in written form. So that's for the older one. My younger one speaks or has language. So with him, our main challenge is encouraging him to use fuller sentences and grammatically correct language. But that's typical of younger children who may not want to speak as much. So we just encourage him and try and get better English out of him when he speaks.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask Kennel, please, can you help us know how you do it?
Well, let me take us back slightly with age-appropriate activities like Bernard was talking about. So the school environment follows a curriculum. Because the school environment follows a curriculum, they usually want to see you achieve a target before you move on to another target. With my boy, he doesn't need to achieve the target. Once he has taken part in the activity, he's done. He has to move on to another activity. So you will not be doing, for instance, let's say colors, because he doesn't know indigo. He wants to know maybe a red, brown, or something. So you must always go on to new things. Things. That is him. And like Bernard also mentioned, journaling is very important. So when my boy was growing up, I wrote everything about him. I think I have like 1,000 pages of every step of the way I write. So I can always refer. There was a time that he had upper respiratory tract infections for a very long time. And every time his nose was running. We had to track exactly what was the cause. Sometimes he will be there and he will have all sorts of sores on his body, self-injury, just pinching himself till it becomes a sore. And you need to track what is he eating that is causing that. So the journaling helps because you can read back maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you'll be able to track what is going on. Now let's talk about communication. So Odipe has very good ears. He can hear sounds that you cannot hear. And in fact, you can hear a pin drop. He has very good memory. So, and he's always humming a kind of song. So he could be humming a song and you're wondering what song is that. He will just shut and try to remember. You see that maybe in an hour back, there was a song playing maybe in your car and it is now ringing in his ears and he's humming it again. So I remember there was a time a therapist said we should communicate to him or with him through singing. So instead of saying, go and sit down, would you sing it? Would you go and sit down? Because you like music. And I was wondering, Indian, how are we going to communicate with singing? But you find your own pathways to knowing what works for the child and use it because they are all different and everyone has a way that he would communicate. So Adefe knows everything around him. Let's say about 90% is he has full environmental awareness of his surroundings, but he will not be able to communicate to you exactly what he wants. So he usually will use a lot of gesticulations. So we understand his gesticulations. So someone comes around him and asks, what is this? What does it mean? I say, oh, if he does this, it means he wants to use the washroom. Because that does. He always needs a kind of approval. So even when he wants to drink water, you come and stand, water. He knows exactly where the water is, but
Let me listen with my ears.
He wants you to tell him to go get the water before he goes ahead.
Please hold on. Please hold on for me. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So he communicates. It is for us to understand how he's communicating. He wants to sleep, you only come and shout sleep. Or gesture like he wants to go and sleep, and we know that it's time for sleeping. We have to respond appropriately. So key is that we have to be involved in the child's activities because if the child is in school, you spend quite some time in the school. But when he comes home, the parent understands the child more than the school. And actually the role of the parents to help the school or whichever environment, be it church or whatever, to let them understand that this is how he communicates. So you should be able to respond to him in this manner if you see him attempting to communicate this way. And that is what works. And what has worked with us.
Great. So you see what Mr. Mabel is going to do with the AACs. And then Colonel Danso also and the family have also figured a way to help their son get to understand. So they could use their hands to gesture, say things, or sometimes he would say one or two. That's also fine. So in whichever way that is possible for you to communicate. Communication is not about the child just talking. It's more about, is the child able to help you understand him or her? Then you interact. Mr. Pong, please, your hand is up.
Yes. I just knowing that the other members have older sons. I just really wanted to a question and maybe also try to answer one of the questions that you read earlier on. As far as like puberty and stuff it's concerned, especially with the boys. I was out, this is not long ago, maybe 2 days ago. I was out with my son. So it was a birthday party of a friend of mine. We went there and lots of girls like skimpy dresses. And I found my son looking at, and my son is 9 years old. I found him looking at these girls in particular. So I said, "What are you looking at?" He turned to me and said, "Is it not beautiful? Like this is a 9 year old looking at girls there, and like, is what not beautiful? The girls, and you know how blunt they are, so they don't like sugarcoat
No filter.
anything, and so on and so forth. And he's been bugging me about girls and girls and girls since that time. So my question really is, how did they handle the process of that puberty change and so on and so? Because I think that's probably going to be on my next list, and how to be able to handle that. So that's my question. However, there was a question that someone asked about autism support in Ghana and asked you to rate and so on and so forth. I mean, to be honest, autism support is low everywhere. Of course, it's relative to where you are and so on. It is better in other places than it is in Ghana. But I think the truth of the matter, however, is autism
Let me go
support
and
and
find out
awareness.
this.
Okay.
Would plead with our participants, please. Already we mute everyone who comes on. Kindly keep your microphones off, so that they can share a lot with us, and then we can also get to ask them all the questions. Please go on, Mr. Pong.
Yeah. So I think support and awareness, it's growing, and of course also a big thanks to Mission Clinic and so on and so forth. And Dr. Mabel is also amazing in that regard. So, but what I see is, or what I think, just interacting with people and knowing people is still going to be here and there, right? The support is going to be here, even though expectation is kind of want to be at the top. In all of this, however, we play the game of victims, right? Where we just complain. But just think about it for a moment. If you were not an autistic parent, you had children who are out playing with an autistic child, and that child is behaving weirdly, in quotes. When you are the parent, you don't see the weirdness, you understand the situation, but other parents see it as really weird. Would you really be happy to have your so-called regular child playing around this weird, so in quote, child? So I think it's always going to be a problem where people will not see what we see, where people will not agree with what we agree with. And so we really should try to stop playing victims, fight for the solutions, right? Fight for the inclusion, fight for people to understand you, but also have the understanding that people don't understand, or have the understanding that people also don't care. Right now, I think people are becoming aware. I can imagine how it was way back for Mr. Brown. Now that his son is 30 years old, I can imagine the fight they have fought all of this time. But still, the fight is still like emotion. People will be in resistance, people will not understand, and so on and so forth. So don't be a victim. Just try to do the best that you can for your child in so many ways. Someone was asking right now in the chat, what is autism and what is it caused by? To be honest, if you have a son on the spectrum, you shouldn't be asking that question. You should go find that out for yourself, right? That's the only way you move. That's the only way you take action. You see, and I just want to answer that question with this, not to like pamper you and say, oh yeah, they are not supporting us, but it's okay. You really need to fight for yourself and for your child, not physically fight, but you need to put in the work for yourself, and then for your we need to read up more. Recently, I was having a call with Dr. Maba, and Dr. Maba was asking me, oh, what's Adam doing now? Saying, oh, now we are into algebra, blah, blah, blah. And I was, again, typical autism parent. You say one positive thing, but you jump on to complain. But he's steaming too much. I wish this steaming will stop. Dr. Maba listened and said, oh, there's a book on Amazon. I forgot this Amazon book platform. She mentioned it to me and said, I think Edo in autism land and so on and so forth. I should go and read it. I understand why they steam. I thought I knew why my son is steaming, because you understand the concept of steaming and so on. So I went there. I started listening to this book. Yeah, I'll show you. She recommended the audio, but I bought this book. Right? If you have a problem about steaming and why your son is steaming, go and read this book. The reason why I'm saying this right now is just to say stop complaining. Right? Find the information you need. Find the help your son needs. Don't go and pick and choose the help another person use for their child for yours. You need to put in the work. If you don't do it, nothing will change because things will not just work out of the box if you don't put in the work. I just wanted to say this. Over. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, he's answered the question. He also came with his question. And he's also from some of our panelists, they are saying that he's just appreciating God's work. So if your son is appreciating God's work, please do not take an offense. And Dr. Marvel is also repeating it that indeed, is it not beautiful? So yes. Congrats to you, that also. So for those who are asking questions as to what it is and then how you can get some forms of help, our dads are sharing. Kenel Danso, please, the floor is yours.
Just a quick one. Adding up to something Bernard just said, he said we should fight for inclusion. Fighting for inclusion means that we must talk about it.
Yes.
We have to talk about it because nobody is going to talk about it for you. You have to talk about it yourself. So me, anytime somebody comes into my space, I talk about it. I let you know first thing that my boy is autistic. This is what you should expect. And I learned it from the US. I mean, I had a neighbor who had an autistic son. That time I didn't know anything about autism. But then anytime you visited the house or anybody entered the house, the first thing he tells you was in introducing his family is that, oh, and his boy is autistic. And then if you don't know anything about autism, he tells you. So I think that's what we should be doing because we are affected. In order not to play victim, we have to let those who come into our space or the space in which our children will go know that this is what they should expect. And it is how we expect them or we plead with them to manage to contain or accommodate them so that they can also feel like they are part of the society. So we must talk about it. That is the advocacy. We need
exactly. Oh, I'm sorry, please. I was just saying exactly. So
I was just a quick interjection to what you said. But I think Mr. Tubman will talk about the puberty part because I'm also interested.
All right, that's the juicy part, you know.
Mr. Brown, this one, it's over to
Right.
you.
I mean, it took me a while to to stop using my son is autistic to say my son is a person with autism. Because if you separate that, then you can understand where the puberty is coming from. Puberty will come, because he's a person. It's a and autism is just can be a distraction, that you focus on the disability and not focus on the ability. As a person, he's going to turn from 13, 14, 15, puberty is going to come. The Burma will get up, he will have erections and me and my wife had, I don't know, maybe a month of struggle. My wife comes, you should teach him how to, handle it. You are a man, you should. And I said, no. Obi anchere akola nyame. So I don't know how to explain that in that. I was never taught how to, jack off. You figure it out, and so I tell Albert, go to your room, stay private, and very soon he learned how to please himself and get the release that he needs. The other problem is that you wonder, is it going to be because he does everything very, because it's motor skills, he doesn't do everything gently, so you even be afraid if he starts, ejaculating or, giving himself a blowjob, is it going to be something that will stick with him all the time? It leveled off. Only things that Albert, go to your room, stay in your room. I think over time he got used, but it will come. So be prepared for it and read about it, as Bernard is teaching us, or read about it and prepare for it. See a therapist, discuss it, and there are different ways in which they can guide you through the. I understand it's even more difficult with the girls, but for the boys, I mean, Albert went through it, and he still, when he sees girls around, he still, you can see his eyes will move around. He can't talk, but his eyes will move around. He's appreciating God's handiwork. But the whole thing is how to manage some of the adverse effects of the puberty, like not going public with it. So immediately you see him, you just tell him, go back to your room. It's a private thing. Go back to your room. And over time he began to understand that he cannot come and show his goods to the public. It's very expensive goods. You shouldn't be exhibiting him too much. Over time he gets around it. I don't know whether I've been able to answer the question, but it will come. So prepare for it. And that's what I would say,
Okay, so it looks like that has also answered Edwina's question in the chat box. Mr.
Right.
Marvel.
Let me another thing is there's a favorite friend of mine who comes here. He's 43. I won't mention the name, but I think those of you who know him will know him. He's 43 and a person with autism, and he loves his club. Anytime he comes to Albert Haven, you say drink. He's gone past all the sodas. Now he likes the club, But the issue is that he will get only one club for a day, not two clubs, So you have to always be mindful that as they grow, they will have different interests, different shades of interest. They cannot handle it all, but aspects of it, you need to be able to put a menu for them to pick, a menu for them to pick, and then you guide them to making the right, because if he takes 5 clubs and there's a problem, but one club is good enough because he figures out he's 43 and he's earned the right to drink club, just like every kid, So those are things that we need to look out as the kids grow, to be mindful of. They'll start vocalizing a lot because they're above 20. They want to talk, just like normal kids will talk, So you have to allow space for them to evolve, to grow, and be able to find, how to culture the communication appropriately and make sure that they don't become a nuisance to themselves and to others.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Brown. Mr. Marvel, your hand was up.
Yes. I was intrigued when the conversation started, first with Bernard, but I think Mr. Brown has sort of captured both from the early stage that Bernard was talking about to how it even looks in adulthood, because that's something that we are sort of getting into right now, since my boys are now entering their teen years, and so you will see the random erections and so on, and have to figure how to deal with them. And again, let them be self-aware and know that you have to throw a little bit of shade on it. Don't be walking proud with your erection all over the place, whatever it is that caused it. But like Mr. Brown said, we will figure a way to get through it, and hopefully do some reading and get some expert advice on how to get through it. There was a comment I wanted to make on how are children with autism and other special needs experience social interactions with other people, especially people who are typical. And I have found that one thing that is important for us as parents of children with special needs is the effort we put into identifying their strengths right? It goes further into building their confidence with their peers, because there's things like doing sports and swimming, soccer and basketball, and even art and piano music. When the children are doing things that they are thriving at and excelling at, it puts them on a level where no matter what their challenges are, in the swimming pool at least, nobody can look down on him that they are better than him because he's outswimming you. So at that point, you are, at least as peers, the children give each other in that context a certain level of respect. Same thing happens when they are doing sports or other athletic endeavors, where when these are our children's areas of strength, they are able to integrate with their peers, because all the other children care about is, are you doing it well? Are you doing it to an extent where we can vibe? When they do, then they can vibe. And these things help our children to integrate, to sort of be mainstreamed in the community, regardless of the challenges that they come with. And these strengths and skills that we are able to identify also helps to serve as a entry point for their peers, their typical peers, to want to engage with them. So as parents, I think we are encouraged to continue to identify these areas of strength and work with the children to build these areas of strength. Like Mr. Brown said, you will find that after you do swimming for a while, one day you wake up and he's not interested anymore. And so we will have to pivot to something else. But these things still give us opportunities for socially interacting or engaging with their peers, which is a good thing. There was a question somebody was asking about the stigma, which was more about the stigma that parents would experience from other adults. And as for that one, I have no response. Sometimes all we need to do is have a thick skin and recognize that not everybody needs to be inside your sphere. So sometimes people will open their mouths and say things to you just to let you know that you shouldn't tolerate them around you. Next time you see them, you just hang a left, or just make sure that they don't come into your space. They don't come into your house. They don't come near you because they don't add any value. It's interesting that this is a dad's forum, so you will find that a few times we get very harsh or forceful, but that is the nature of men. But yeah, stigma, there's the easy way to address stigma, especially from this perspective, is don't let those people near you. It is good for them to open their mouths and let you know that this is where they come from. But if you are like Kennel and you have the energy and you have the height and stature that you can teach them to be smarter, then you can go ahead. If you do not have the time or the energy to teach them that wisdom, you can just block them. That too is okay.
Okay. So find out which one would best work for you. And as they all said, you are your child's advocate. You are the ambassadors for your children. I am guessing this is Auntie Mary. Auntie Mary, is that you? I see a hand up. Mama Mary.
Hello.
Ah, it's Auntie Mary. Okay, Auntie Mary, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. It's so amazing listening to the dads. It's just amazing. And you can confidently tell that there's so much involved in their children's therapy and plan and everything. And so kudos to all the dads. It's so amazing. I just wanted to add a few points. One of the dads said that you have to know what the diagnosis means to your particular child. This is so important because sometimes so much advice, so much input and information is thrown at you that you don't even know where to look. So you need to be mentally alert and strong to be able to sieve in and out some of these informations that are coming in. So yes, we do have children with autism. Some have communication issues, sensory issues, blah, blah, blah. But what does the diagnosis of autism mean to your child? Another dad made another important input. Have a profile of your child, even as you visit therapists and doctors. So someone said they've written over 1,000 something. That's amazing. Have a profile for your own child. What are their strengths? What are their learning styles? What pisses them off? What toy do they like? Have a profile. Wherever you go, please print copies and send to them. The ones that are involved with your child, they will read it. Because sometimes to allowing them to reinvent the wheel, they will bring you to square one. And so let them read that profile. If there are questions in there you need to address, they should ask you, and you find time to explain yourself. This is so important because sometimes, even in the heat of the moment, in presence of your therapist, you can forget so many things. And mind you, and I say this with authority, there are people we've worked with right from the beginning, they don't even believe in our children. Autism is autism. Mild, moderate, severe. Autism is autism. It shows itself when you least expect. So let us be very strong. Let's have our profile wherever we go. You can share. Yes, Mr. Allen. Hi. He said something that is very important. Sometimes you need to protect your mental health. If there are some people who do not understand your child and you think they do not help, please block them. There's no other way to do it because your child and their therapy and everything they receive is as good as your own strength. If you wake up and you are not well and you are sick, how do you have the strength to even follow all these instructions and advice people give you when you go for therapy? You cannot. You can't. Yeah, so sometimes you just need to have that thick skin and draw that boundary. It's for your own peace of mind. And now finally on the adolescents, it's not just the boys you see Jack standing up. The day I saw my daughter masturbating and sweating, I almost fainted. I thought that with all the challenges we are going through, she will not even discover herself. Mind you, I'm sure it might have started long ago, and I was shocked. But can I go on, please?
Mary, please go on.
Yes, so it was difficult. It felt very weird. Me having to teach, I didn't know whether to say continue masturbating, and I felt so guilty, like it was still. But in any way, even with our children who are neurotypical, I'm sure that they find ways to discover themselves without you knowing. But it was difficult, and in order for others not to take advantage of her, I had to teach her. And can you believe autism in its full glare as it is? She'll come and tell you in the afternoon, sleeping. Sleeping means I'm going to masturbate. I'm sorry. I'm just being vulnerable here. And I had to find another way to, for that word to be like a code between me and her so that other people cannot figure it out. It was scary. It was very scary. But 23 years, if she was neurotypical, I'm sure she might have had a boyfriend by now. And here we are. So sometimes, as difficult as it is, we'd have to teach them, especially about privacy. What has helped us is going for a walk in the evenings. It does really help because for us, sometimes when she's getting closer to her menses, you can see that she has high libido and you see more of the masturbating thing. But when you take her out for a walk, it helps. It helps. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing, Auntie Mary. So these are parents. Auntie Mary has a child who is over 20 years on the spectrum. So they are talking from experience. She has an active Facebook page, My Journey with Autism, where she gets to share her madam's experiences for the day and all that. So now I am going to change the wheel and come back to our dads since Auntie Mary has shared something with us. Work. You need to work. You need to have a balance and your responsibilities as fathers. How are you able to make career adjustments? Let me start off with Kennel. Kennel Danzo Ankara. I remember before we had this, we were talking about whether you would even be available, but here you are, thank God you are here. And unfortunately, we do not have much time. But I'm just going to briefly ask all our parents how they balance it off, and then you can add a bit of like something from you to the audience, please.
So I work for the government. I don't work for myself.
Yeah.
I work in an institution where you are directed to go and you just move. So I'm always on the move. Well, if not always, most of the time I'm on the move. And I need to balance this. The thing for me is that I want to be a father.
Yeah.
So I always like to be present. So when I am present, I need to be present. And when I am not present physically, I find ways of being present when it is possible. But it is that challenging because imagine that you are away and these kids, they kind of select which parents they want to be attached to sometimes. And in my case, my boy likes to be attached to me because I'm able to do a lot for him, or he just likes to be attached to me. So when I am not there, it's usually a bit challenging. And you can imagine that maybe he has one of his meltdowns and I'm not around. And of course, I can always be around, even if I'm around physically, I will not always be around him physically. But it's more difficult when, let's say, so let me give you an example. I was on a peacekeeping mission in Congo, and then I get a call, or anytime I get a call, he has a meltdown, and maybe I have to talk to him to see whether he will respond positively. And it was very challenging for me. So sometimes my wife is listening, so I have to confess, but sometimes when I hear calling me, I will not pick because I'm scared that the call is going to first and foremost announce that my boy is having a meltdown. So talk to him. It can just jam your day. It can just jam your day because so anytime I get a call, I get scared. Sometimes when he's in school or he's somewhere and I get a call, the first response it just comes naturally that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I've grown out of all this. Now I'm so positive about him that anytime I get any call anywhere, maybe school, church, whatever, I feel that they are coming to tell me something positive has happened. And that's what I'm expecting. And actually, when I don't get that, I get slightly disappointed that, I thought you were going to tell me that he has done something very positive. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how challenging it has been with work. And unfortunately, I don't get to select where I have to work.
Yeah.
I get to select where I have to work, so that I choose my places. But I just go where I'm ordered to. And I just have to figure out how to manage with my absence. Because I know I have another boy. He is also very good with him, with his brother. His younger brother, he's 13, and the one on the spectrum is 16. But the younger brother is very good with the older one. He takes a lot of instructions from him. He's able to get him to do the things that he wants him to do. So it works when he's around. And of course, once mommy is there, then there's a lot of comfort in the home. But when I'm not there, usually I feel the challenge that there's something missing, because we work as a team, and it's like one arm of the team is not there. So there's a little discomfort, and I feel that pain. And for that reason, I always want to be around, but I cannot always be around. So I always pray for strength that when I'm not around, the rest of the team should be able to function as effectively as when the entire team is around.
That's good. So what would be your brief advice? So because of time constraints, what would be your brief advice to all dads who have kids on the spectrum? What would you like to say to them? Like your final parting words.
Just be present in your child's life. For me, that's the key thing. Be present. Fatherhood is not just about giving birth and paying school fees, but be present in the child's life. You should know exactly what is happening. You should contribute to the child's growth. You should be able to speak about issues. You should attend the PTA meetings. You should attend the prayer therapy sessions. You know, the funny thing about therapy sessions, sometimes when you go for a therapy session or you meet a specialist, they want to talk to the moms, because usually it is the moms who are the caregivers, in quotes, forgetting that there are dads who are also excellent caregivers. So even if you are present, then they will turn their attention to the mom and they say, "Oh, mommy, we know that you are the one who will be doing." I'm saying, "Now, who tells you that she's the one who is supposed to be doing? Do you know what I do for my child?" So be present in their lives and know what they are doing and what they can do, so that it can also contribute effectively to their development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kennel. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to also move on to Mr. Brown. Please share with us your
Yes,
thoughts.
madam. I think that, I asked for 1 year of adjustment once we got the results in 98. I asked for 1 year of development assignment to move to Washington. And I got 28 years of career, or 20 years of career. So I've been blessed. But just Albert being in my life is giving me a career. So I retired and decided to spend the rest of my life, because I wasn't there most of the time. I tried to make career adjustments when I moved to Tanzania, because I was traveling too much, and my director asked me, "Do you know that there's a position you can move to Tanzania?" I grabbed it immediately, moved the whole family, put the big ones in boarding school, and move Albert and the younger one to Tanzania for 2 years or 3 years. And once he got around puberty, we were struggling with the puberty. Around puberty, we moved back to the US so you can get it. So we have to you have to learn to adapt, around the child's needs, around the spectrum of years that they go through, make the adjustments, and in my, as I said, it's been blessing galore, that I was able to retire with decent pension, to be able to give more to Albert Haven, and just dedicate my pension to the foundation, and hopefully, other kids can come here, other parents can come here, especially caregivers can also come and chill here. Just Albert is chilling, chilling here. So and one thing I also say is that be mindful of the siblings also. It's very, very, very important to me, because if you don't take time, you save one and lose another one, or lose the rest. And then also, um, I know that some of the primary care is being with the mothers. They have
What is that? What is that?
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. The mothers. But what always said, anytime that I'm home from a mission or something like that, I'm available. That's I have the honey to do list. Take Albert here, take Albert there. I will be, I will devote the time. So that at least the mother also can get some respite or get some care. So I think that's being present when you can is very important. I'd make the time. There's also something that in Tanzania, for instance, when we went there, the first school we went to, they immediately they saw Albert, they dismissed him from the class. They said other parents are not comfortable having Albert in the class with their children. So we lost the spot. They didn't even try. So we found a school, we created a space and had 12 kids come to a public school, and we help raise funds. And so I think it was Bernard or somebody who said that now we need to be advocates for these kids. And anyway, you all have reasons to complain, and there's no care in Ghana, and there's no care. But I'm very happy that at least now we have the University of Winnipeg producing kits for care, special needs care. It's growing. There are a lot of foundations in Accra, maybe not around the country. I'm happy. Even in I came, there was one school there I've adopted, and they come to the Albert Haven every Friday, end of the month, to come and chill with me and Albert. So let's be the advocate for our kids. The stigma will be there, but that's not our problem. Our problem is focus on the kid and creating the environment, the ecosystem for our kid. And if you come to my place, you see Albert. He's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to hide him. You know, so you have to get on with the program. Get on with the program. And then use that as an opportunity to explain, to give some education to people and people are afraid. A lot of people, and the minute they see a kid of that nature, it's human nature. So I don't think that people are bad or or terrible. They don't, what they don't know, they can't deal with it. So we use this opportunity to help them see that, hey, Albert is as normal as he can be, but you have to deal with his type of normality. Not wanting him to be a perfect kid. So that's for me something that I will leave with parents and the fathers. I'm glad you hosted fathers today. you know because
I was so happy when you all
I
agreed
know,
to
I
it.
know, I know. In Tanzania, I became a counselor for the dads
Mm,
because the kids, you never see the dads around.
yeah.
Half of them ran away. There's a lot of high divorce rates. The men
Mm-hmm.
blame the kids, and then they they ran away. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also sometimes very difficult when mothers come here with their kids. I try not to pry, because you don't know everybody's situation. But
Yeah.
we have a conversation. If they are available, they bring the husbands for me to talk to. So I think let's create the space also to encourage fathers to reach out to some of us. We've been in the battle before. We can talk about it, and also maybe a men's club. We form our own men's club that we can also, and I'll invite the men to come over here. Let's do let's gossip among ourselves and gossip about the wonderful caregiving our wives are giving to our kids. I think this we need to get into the space a bit more and
We do.
not leave the job to our wives.
We do. You do.
Leave
In
it to our
fact,
wives.
we are so grateful that you are doing everything to support our children. And that's one of the reasons why in June we are hoping to get to Albert Haven and have some fun there
Please,
on
please,
site.
please.
So
We're going
yes,
to.
that is one of the things that will be coming up. So for our Parents Professional Connect in June, we are not going to be online. We are going to be in Assessor.
Right.
Precisely Albert Haven, so we all get to enjoy the space. And
Yes.
for now, as I am going to be mentioning the contacts of the various things that they do, so it helps us get to understand. And one of the reasons why we are happy that Mr. Brown agreed that he would join us, so people get to know that there is a place for respite for our parents. And yes, I have been there before. I enjoyed the serene environment. In fact, it was at a point in time, there's like a no phone zone. So at least you get to relax and cool down and enjoy what you need to enjoy, whilst the kids are also cared for. So I'm going to mention the number for Albert Haven. I know they are online. I know they also have a website, which Mr. Brown will tell us about. But the
Mhm.
contact for Albert Haven is, you can call Della, is it Della? On
Yeah.
055-192-0979. Please, I'll repeat the number: 055-192-0979. That's the contact for Albert Haven. So please, if you would want to go there before our June, which I would advise you do, please, you can call Della and you would get to have an interaction with them. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us, Mr. Brown. Now I am going to let me go straight to Mr. Opong. So Mr. Opong shares with us. And Mr. Opong, too, when you are talking, I beg you, chip in the bit of the Hope Fund, because I know Hope Fund is doing a lot here in Ghana. So although Mr. Opong and the other partners are not in Ghana, they are actually working to be able to support people who are here in Ghana. And it's a collaborative effort that they are doing. So, Mr. Opong, please do share with us, first of all, how you are able to balance work, how you're able to balance your own activities, and you can add a bit of an advice to the parents in addition to the Hope Fund.
Okay. I mean, this whole to be able to do this and do it well comes with sacrifices, right? You definitely need to sacrifice something. The first thing starts with your leisure. You have to give up something about your leisure. For me, the first thing I gave up was football. I think I haven't watched a full football match for maybe at least 5 years or something like that. So that has to go. The next comes to your professional life and your professional ambitions. It's good to run after your ambitions and so, but as soon as you find yourself in these situations, you need to begin to adjust. So you find yourself probably not going for maybe some PhD you plan for, some master's course you plan for. You give all of that up just to take care of things at home and to support their family, or you kind of refocus your academic plan to fall in line with how you can help with your children and their upbringing and so on. As far as I am concerned, I think I definitely had to switch from doing the regular 8 to 5 to do consultation work, and then also to now focus on looking for work that makes it easier to work remotely from anywhere. So you need to adjust that so you have enough time to be able to spend with the boy and then also spend with the family. So those are the adjustments and sacrifices. As far as advice is concerned, I think a lot of the time it looks as if we say that are doing nothing and so on and so forth. There's one other very good friend of mine who's also very fully involved in his son's life, and he tells me to they say the women are the caregivers, we should be the direction givers. And that's what he always says it. So let them do the caregiving, but be the one directing the process. And I find it when men are in charge and directing the process, it a lot of them lead without emotions. So it helps you think and make the right decisions without the emotional aspect of things. So that will be the advice I would say. The other part will be also on knowledge seeking, right? You need to build yourself in knowledge to be able to figure out what to do. Otherwise, you'll always be confused because there's so many things to choose from and so on and so forth. So that will be it for me. I'll recommend one thing that helped me is this book. I have this book, The Whole Brain Child. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, I can.
So, The Whole Brain Child, this book basically talks about how the brain of children form and how it develops. right? It gives you an understanding into how, especially if your child is still young, it tells you how the brain is developing and how you can tap into the brain development to help your child better. So that is this book. Then there is this other book which is talking about parenting from the inside out. This is not autistic, it's not anything. It just teaches you how to be a parent, especially if you are a first time parent. For me, this book really also helped me. I've read a lot of autism resources, autism um, biographies, and so on. The best one I've read so far is the one I suggested. I told you Dr. Mabel suggested to me recently, Edo in Autism Land. This book, it's awesome. It gives you exactly what is going on in the mind of these children. I find my son so inclined to this book that like it gives me so much hope. So that is the part I would say find and seek the knowledge. It will help you be clear in the direction that you are going towards. That's what I would say. The last part is, I mean, giving up all these professional ambitions, academic ambitions, now leads you to doing something in the space to help your children. So my desire and hope to is to at least retire into this space to build and help the community in this sense. So because of this, Dr. Mabel, me, and a few other people have been working on this project that we call Hope Fund. The name is likely going to change when the eventual launch is done. But what we are doing right now is we find a lot of people in need of help. This is beyond the therapy and so on, financial help. I think majority of the problem with parents on the spectrum is resources. So what we are doing is we are launching this program called Hope Fund, and the plan is to rely on crowdsourcing, where we're going to profile, hopefully, all children on the spectrum in different diversity of the spectrum onto a single registry. We currently have a website called hopefundghana.com. So if you go to hopefundghana.com, you see a prototype of what we are working on. But the idea here is to use that platform to raise funds for needy parents with children on the spectrum. What that is first of all, we're going to profile the children with the help of Mission Pediatrics and all other partners. We are going to diagnose these children, figure out exactly what they need. Then we will go to the general public, raise some funds that will be used to take care of these children and provide them the caregiving that they need. So that is like a summary of what the Hope Fund program is. There is a lot more that we plan to do, and we'll be doing an official launching very soon. But the aim is to really help target parents who need financial help to be able to take care of their children. And that's it for me for now. Over and out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Opon. So, yes, I'm gonna give the contact number. So currently, there are some people who are even receiving support through the Hope Fund, although it's not officially been launched. Still, it is working, and as such, people are getting support, small, small. So just as he mentioned, through crowd sourcing, fund sourcing. I would just mention the number for the Hope Fund. So those who are around and would like to donate can also do that. And the number is 024 366 1155. I'll take it again. 024 366 1155. So please, you can also help someone get support through your donation. Now I'm going to go to Mr. Alan Stanley Marvel. Please, Mr. Marvel, I'm trying not to call you the alien name. I don't know why that name keeps ringing in my head. Please help us understand how you've been able to balance things, and then your final piece of advice to parents, to dads especially, who are helping their kids who are on the spectrum. Mr. Marvel.
Yes. Thanks, Ida. I think The first thing I will say is we have been blessed. From the point where we found ourselves in the challenge that we found ourselves, my point is from the point that we got the diagnosis of autism for my two boys. At that time, I had just gotten 100% into self-employment and was running my own company. So I've been blessed in finding myself being my own boss and not having to answer to anybody for how much time I take away from earning a livelihood to uh, pursuing the other challenges that, for the most part, were always more critical than the finding what we would eat. But God has been good and He has brought us this far. And in spite of how much time I may have had to dedicate or take away from looking for livelihood or employment or income, God has been faithful, and we have kept body and soul together, and we have come this far. And even as we look to the future, I think the one thing that I can be sure of is that keeping my eye on the prize, which is the two boys, the situation at home, keeping my eye on getting the best possible outcome in the home is what is priority. And somehow the career and livelihood and income has just followed it. I cannot imagine that trusting that these things would fall in place would have worked for everybody. All I know is that they have worked for me, and God has been faithful. But I believe that no matter what your faith is, if you trust and you believe that this is what is important and that this is what your mission is, and you follow it with all the energy you have, I believe you will not go hungry. So I am inspired by Mr. Brown's story about his whole career, because he put in the work and his career sort of fell in line and allowed him to do the things he needed to do. And in the end, he has brought his pension for all of us here to enjoy. So I think these stories reinforce and validate that you will know that this is the right thing to do when you are on the path. And I think as men, our big challenge is to have that conviction and to not question whether I am doing the right thing, as long as you are doing the right thing. So the livelihood and income has been challenging, but we are here today and we are looking forward. And I have no doubt that a decade from now, our children or my two boys will be fully grown adults, and I will be able to stand in the position that Mr. Brown is able to look back and say, yes, I fought a good fight, and this is where I have left the two gentlemen, and this is how they are carrying on with their lives. So let's just not be discouraged, and let's keep going at it, and we will have a testimony to tell in the end. So other dads, I encourage you that as hard as it may look, others have passed through, we will pass through, Tom. So
I like that. Others have passed through, and definitely we'll all pass
we will
through some.
we'll pass through some. We will not
Yeah.
fail.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Marvel. I know the effort it has taken to be able to even decide to share. And we are so grateful that you did and you've joined us. Thank you. Thank you to all the fathers who joined. Thank you, Auntie Mary, for also sharing your own. We appreciate it because this is their personal space. This is their private life. This is something about them. And it's not everyone who would even want to talk about what is happening in their homes. Yet these fathers decided to share with us. So be it you work for yourself, you're retired, you work under somebody, or you whichever area in which you work, these gentlemen, they are there. They've been there and they are there and they are still going. And we appreciate the fact that they've been here for us. Thank you so much to our fathers. And yes, Mr. Marvel and his wife, they decided to put together an inclusive institution or setting that helps children get to have support. And that's what we call it's called the Greenfield Manor Academy. The Greenfield Manor Academy. And there they have numerous therapists who give the support that the children need to them. Their contact number is 0544 772 427. I would repeat the contact 0544 772 427. That's for the Greenfield Manor Academy.
Thank you,
you.
Ida. And in fact, if you had not mentioned Greenfield Manor Academy, I think I would not have gotten dinner tonight. So let me say myself that yes, my wife runs an institution that is heavily focused and invested in providing early interventions for children with autism. They specialize in the very early years, from as early as 6 months to hopefully they'll be starting class 1 from September. And I also want to say about Greenfield Manor Academy that for the people who have heard about early interventions in autism, the kinds of miracles that we prayed for when we were diagnosed with autism, since my wife started this program, we have literally seen in 1, 2, maybe up to even 10 different children who were diagnosed early and have had the interventions and have seen such dramatic progress. Sometimes the prayers you pray, it may not manifest or happen to you directly, but in our case, we see them happen right in front of our eyes as we work with other people's children. And so if you didn't believe, trust me when I tell you that the early interventions are really working. And if you know anybody who has been diagnosed, encourage them to give it 100% as soon as they can, as early as possible. And there are people who, within a year of starting early intervention, from before the age of 2, were ready to go to regular preschool and have gone to regular schools where their peers and the schools do not even know that they had an early diagnosis of autism. So the science works, like Mr. Bernardo Pong was saying, and it's happening. It's happening at Greenfield Manor Academy. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Marvel. So you've heard it all from our parents. Kennel helped us understand that one thing, despite he being moved here and there, because for him, whenever the order comes, he can't stay. He has to go, and he goes. However, despite all the running around and everything, one thing that he always tries to do is to be present in the lives of his kids. So please, let's make sure that we are present in the lives of our kids. Aside that, Mr. Brown also added that you need to be mindful of the other siblings that the child has. Sometimes we get overwhelmed and then all the attention and everything just goes straight on to the child who has a need. But when there are others in the family, we need to be considerate of their emotions also. And as Mr. Opon also mentioned, please ensure that you get to have the data. Have the data on your child. Yes, as therapists, as facilitators, we can do the best that we can from all the trainings and things we've had, but you are the best people to be able to know what exactly your child needs and how best you can help your child. And sometimes when you get to have something being told to you, research and find out if that works. I think I read a comment in there that someone was mentioning as to screen time. What kind of screen are you given? Are you just giving the screen to your child? Go and sit and watch. Or you're having an interactive session with your child. It is not about just dropping the phone or giving the child that tablet or that laptop, but your interaction with the child. That is what counts. And the child being able to, communication is not just about the child is able to sing the rhymes. Communication, I talk, you hear me, you give me feedback, we interact, we tend to share ideas. And as Kennel mentioned earlier too, functional communication. Please, there's a lot that has been shared here today. We know we cannot assimilate every single thing. Mr. Mabel has more than a child on the spectrum. He has children on the spectrum. He shared his experiences with us. His wife also shared her experiences with us, I think last 2 years on the Autism Month. So please, we have all these things to help you get to learn. If you go on our Parent Professional Connect on YouTube, you get to have all these videos to help you become ambassadors for your children. Be the advocates. Those who come to your houses and are not able to know what to say and they don't know what ASD is, just as Kendall mentioned, you can teach them. You can help them get to learn. Whatever you also know, please help someone know. And if you realize that it is not going to be something that is it's going to be a detriment on your mental health, please and please again, as Mr. Mabel said, if it is something that is going to be detrimental to your mental health, please, you can do away with that. Oh, Auntie Aggie, I wish I could take your comments. Currently, we've taken about 30 minutes of your time. Can you pardon me for that today, Auntie Aggie? I see your hand up. Thank you so much for being understanding, Auntie Aggie. Would like to say a very big thank you to all our parents, to Mr. Atto Brown, who has shared his experience of his son, who is 30 years, right on to Mr. Mabel, who also has children on the spectrum, currently teenagers and going through puberty and all that. Mr. J. Opong, who also shared his experience of his son, who is 9 years and currently learning to appreciate beauty and God's creation. Yes, all these fathers have shared with us. We are grateful that you made the time to join us. Thank you for being a part of this month's own. Yes, the fourth Sunday of every month, we would have a webinar. And as mentioned earlier, in June, we are going to Albert Haven in Asseso. Do make a date with us. Thank you all for being a part today. Thank you for coming. The the websites to all our the Hope Fund, Greenfield Manor Academy, Albert Haven, everything is in there. Please, you can go on, get to learn about what do you do, get to experience things. And I'll see you again the fourth Sunday of next month. Do have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank
Bye.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.